These are the 4.2 notes on slope. The key idea in this set of notes is that in math, we can use the Greek letter delta to signify that a value is changing. Delta x means the change in x, and delta y means the change in the y. And to find the slope, or the definition of the slope, represented by the letter m is equal to the change in the y value over the change in the x value. Sometimes your parents have learned that that's called the rise over the run, or how much it's going up over how much it's going over. I guess it could be up or down. Okay, it's the up and the over, rise over run. In example 1, we're going to find the slope of a line that passes through 5, 2, and 4, -1, and we're going to look at that 3 different ways. So we're going to make a table of values. So we're going to look at how those values change. And so in my table, I'm going to put the x values in and the y values in. And so my x is, I've got 5, 2, and 4, -1. And so that x value changes from 5 to 4. It's going down -1. And to get from 2 to -1, it's going down 3. All right. So we can use a table. And then we can also use a formula. Our formula is that the slope is equal to the change in the y value over the change in the x value. So I can see that my y value is changing by 3, or -3. And my x value is changing by -1. And so my slope, -3, divided by -1, is equal to +3. Okay. I can also graph that. Let's just start with a little. All right. I think that's going to be okay. All right, so we're going to go over 5 up to 1, 2, 3. And we have 4, -1. And I can see from my graph that if I look at, let's use a different color. If I look at the amount that it goes up, I've got 1, 2, 3 over 1. So that the change in the y is 3 and the change in the x is 1. All 3 of those are good strategies. You're going to practice doing all 3 so that you have several different tools. You have one you try here, finding the slope of the line that goes through -3, 1, and 4, 5. You're going to use a table. You're also going to use the formula, and then you're going to use the graph and make sure you get the same answer all 3 ways. All right. Then next, we're going to derive the formula for slope. Deriving means we're going to see where that comes from. It isn't just made up. So we're going to start with any 2 points. It doesn't matter where I put them. Let's just... All right, you can just pick any 2 points that you want. All right, and we're going to call this first point x sub 1 and y sub 1. Sub just means lower than. So we've got we're identifying this as our first x coordinate, and this is our first y coordinate. And then this one is going to be x sub 2 and y sub 2. All right, so you can start with any 2 points. And we'll do the change in this y value. So if you want to find how much y changed from here to here, we do the second y value minus the first y value. And if I want to find out how much my x value changed, I'm going to take my first x, that's this much, and I'm going to subtract the first x value, so x2 minus x1 will tell me how much that changed. Anytime you want to find how much something changes, you have to subtract them. So I'm going to take the second y minus the first y, and the second x minus the first x, and that will tell me how much things have changed. And I wrote it out there so you could see y sub 2 minus y sub 1. That's how you read it. So then let's put in our formula. So the slope is equal to the change in the y over the change in the x, which equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. All right. So this is your formula for finding slope. So let's just do that. Find the slope of the line that passes through negative 4, 1 and 2, negative 2. And we'll use just the formula. Slope is equal to the change in the y over the change in the x. And I find out how much my y has changed by doing y sub 2 minus y sub 1. And the change in the x is the second x value minus the first x value. It's always a good idea to write out, at least at first when you're learning. You need to write out the formula and substitute in the numbers, especially in notes, so that you can see where the numbers are coming from. So then we're going to go to our numbers here, and this is our second y value. I've got negative 2 minus positive 1. And my second x value is 2 minus negative 4. When you're doing this, you're going to need to be careful with your signs. Sorry about that. All right. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. And 2 minus negative 4 is the same as 2 plus 4, which is 6. So I've got negative 1/2 as the slope. And then everybody is always it's like, well, what if I did them backwards? As long as you call one point the first point and one point the second point, and you're consistent, it doesn't matter which one. So let's flip it around. What if we called this our first point and this our second point, right? So let's just turn it around. So now let's do, or we could have done 1 minus, so the change in this y, negative 2 over negative 4 minus 2. 1 minus negative 2, that's the same as 1 plus 2, so that's 3. And negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. And so now I have the same. Another question that comes up all the time is, where's the negative sign? You can put the negative sign here in the numerator. You can put the negative sign down in the denominator, or you can write the negative sign out in front of the number, like that. And that's all the same thing. This is negative 1/2, no matter where the sign goes. If you had a negative sign in the numerator and in the denominator, that would make your slope positive. You have 2 U-tries to do using all 3 strategies. So you'll need to do both the graph and count, and you'll need to do a little table and look for the change in the y and the change in the x from the table. And then you'll need to do the formula where you're writing in the change in the y over the change in the x. And then the last part, we're finding the slope of a horizontal line. So let's just draw one. I'm going to make my axis here. And then I'll draw a line like that. Okay, so I've got a horizontal, and I can pick any 2 points on there. Okay, and I need to label them. So this is going to be like my first point and my second point. This first point is, let's see, is 1, 2, -3. It's -3, +3. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And this one is also, and this one's 1, 2, +3, +3. All right. And then we're going to do the formula. Slope is equal to the change in the y value over the change in the x value. And so my y values were the same. So I've got 3 minus 3. And my x values, I'm doing the x sub 1, so I'm going to do 3 minus -3. So that's 0 and 6. And if you think about it, no matter where you were, which 2 points you chose, that y value is always 3. That y value is 3, that's 3, that's 3, that's 3, that's 3. So no matter which 2 points you chose, when you subtracted the y values, you end up with 0. We call this 0 slope. The slope is always 0. Right? Let's contrast that with a vertical line. Also does not matter where you draw it. So let's draw a vertical line over here. And pick a couple of points. All right. And so this point is going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I picked the same point. And this point is 1, 2, 3, -1. Slope is the change in the y over the change in the x. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but you need to be consistent. So my y value is changing from 3 minus -1. And my x value is 3 minus 3. Three minus -1 is the same as 3 plus 1, so I have 4 over 0. So this time, the 0 ended up in the denominator instead of in the numerator. And that will always be true, that no matter where I am on this vertical line, my x value is going to be the same. So when I subtract it, I'm always going to end up with 0. When we look at 0 divided by 6, 0 divided by 6 is 0. We know that. When I try to do 4 divided by 0, I can't divide 4 by 0. I know you guys like to ask Siri what is a number divided by 0, and she has a funny answer. 4 divided by 0, we call that undefined or no slope. No slope is different than 0 slope. And I'll show you a little why it's undefined. It's easiest to show with an example. So say you have just any math problem like 3 times 4 equals 12. Right? Then the inverse of that is to say that I can take this number, the product, and I can divide it by either one of those factors and get the other factor, right? And so 3 times 4 is equal to 12. Right? But what if I have a number on top, like any number with a 0? Is there any number that I can multiply by 0 and get a number? That's not possible. There's no number here that I could multiply by 0 and get this numerator. So this must be impossible. This is undefined. And there are no U tries with that.